Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back to Babeinlibrary. It's your girl Lisa, and today we're going to do my January and February wrap up. This may be how I do wrap-ups going forward. I think I'm going to do them in 2-month increments because I just can't seem to get it done at the end of each and every month. So we're going to talk about some stats first, and then we're going to jump into my favorites, least favorites, talk about some DNFs, and then some of my surprising reads. In the month of January and February, I was able to read 21 books. I did DNF 3. In January, I read 10 to be specific, and then I read 11 in February. For whatever reason, February is usually my best reading month. I think that I'm just trying to cram as much as I can in. To support Black History Month, I usually have all Black authors unless I do have a specific arc. So I'm usually cruising in February. Now, again, I have 3 DNFs. In January, I had 1, but I had 2 in February, and one of them happened to be an arc. So we'll talk about that momentarily, but one of the biggest stats for this year that I am trying to increase, and I think I'm doing a pretty solid job, is on NetGalley. So we talk about arcs, and for whatever reason, when I got my NetGalley account, I was just requesting things like crazy. So I have things back all the way in 2021 that I still need to read. Do not shame me. I am making my way through it. I started off the year at 45%. I have now increased my total to 50% of my NetGalley score. So that's 5%, which is quite a bit, in my personal opinion. My goal is to get to 60 before I request for something new. We'll see if I can do that by the time I do the next wrap up. But without further ado, I'm going to jump into my books that I read in January. Again, I'm not going to cover all 10. I'm going to try to parse mill them based on favorites, least favorites, so on and so forth. So starting off on a good note, I have 2 favorites for the month of January, and I do own both of them physically. The first being Nisha Sharma's sequel, which is Taste Like Shakkar. This is the second in her, I believe, If Shakespeare Was an Auntie series, and this does not suffer from second book syndrome. Nisha knew. She said, okay, y'all are looking for something different, and this is different. So this is different because this is a cozy mystery and it has great romance. So this is the story of Bobby and Bunty. They are enemies to lovers that have been forced to work with one another to support both of their best friends' weddings. Now, Bobby is a wedding planner, and she is helping her best friend plan the wedding of her dreams, which is from Nisha Sharma's first book. So you do know the characters going in, and it is best to kind of read them in order, but you don't necessarily have to. They're not contingent on one another. But I will say, Bobby is in a situation where she is being forced to work with Bunty, whose real name is Benjamin. She is forced to work with him because he is the caterer. He is probably one of your most sought out caterers in the New Jersey/New York area for his Desi food that he's been doing, or his Punjabi food that he's been doing in the community. Now, he doesn't necessarily do weddings, and he definitely doesn't do Bobby. He is not a fan of hers, and he doesn't necessarily want to do this wedding, but he's doing it for his best friend, and his best friend has asked him to do it. And so he's like, okay, fine, I'll put everything aside. He doesn't really lie on the side of hate, really. Bobby is the one with the animosity because she lost the deal because she could not secure Bunty. Now, in this, there is the cozy mystery portion, and that's because someone is trying to sabotage the wedding that they're doing. And we are trying to figure out who could be trying to sabotage this wedding. And it isn't until you get to the end and you're like, it makes sense now. Again, they have this push and pull, easy banter between the two of them, and I absolutely loved it, and I can't wait to read the third and final in the series. Now, this next favorite that I have for January is really what kickstarted my historical romance binge. I have been stuck in a historical romance or historical fiction setting since January. It is now March. I don't think I'm living anytime soon, but it all started because I was reading Emily McIntyre's Scar. Oh, when I tell you this was perfectly made for me. This is a Lion King retelling. Emily McIntyre decided to change the names, which again, for proprietary reasons, we know that Disney has an ironclad grasp on their people. So Emily had to do a little bit of creativity, and she made Tristan and Michael. So for all intents and purpose, Michael is Simba and Tristan is Scar. And then you have the Nala character, which is Sarah. So I'm just trying to give you a little bit of context of where we're at. Now, Sarah is gunning for revenge. Now, she believes that this Fa family has been the reason that her father was killed. And she's like, okay, I'm going to put myself in the position where I go in and I marry Michael. And when I get married to him, I'm going to take him out. She has no interest in the throne. She does not want to be queen. She just wants revenge. And so when she gets to the palace, she's like trying to scope the scene and see where she's going to make her mark. She is very strategic. However, she doesn't take into account that the younger brother the younger brother, who's Tristan, one, has taken an interest in her and he's using her for his political gain. Also, she doesn't know that they're actually working for the same purpose. So Tristan is infatuated with Sarah, but he knows that things could go awry because he's trying to take out his brother as well. And so at some point you get to realize, hey, we're working on the same side. Let's do what we can to take him down. Now, I will tell you that Michael is not someone to be underestimated. And let me tell you, this is dark. When I talk about dark and I talk about, they usually doesn't come with historical romance, but this is pretty much everything that can be summed up together. It is dark. It is political. It is backstabbing. You never know who to trust. And I loved every second of it. I am really much in my Disney villain era. I love villains. This is actually a Disney shirt, which this was not planned. I promise you that. I just want you all to show I am wearing Ursula, who is my queen. I stan. So if you all have any recommendations for villains getting their love story outside of Emily McIntyre and outside of Katie Roberts, I have both of these series. But if you happen to have any other recommendations for Disney villains getting their love, put it down below because I want to read more. Now it's time to switch gears and talk about my least favorite read in January. Now, do not come for me. I know a lot of you girlies love it. I am not the same. I'm going to be talking about Kathy Yardley's role playing. Now, don't get me wrong. Do not hear what I'm not saying. I understand. I actually resonated very much so with Maggie, who is the main character. Now, I personally did not like Maggie. I felt like Maggie was contradictory, and she kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Say what you will, I understand y'all are going to cape for her. I'm just going to, stand 10 toes down in the fact that not only Maggie, but 99.9% of the characters in this book was irredeemable for me. Like, they irked my ass, and I could not see past Red. The only character that I might have liked is Aiden, and Aiden did not deserve half the things that these people wanted to put on him. Aiden is our bisexual male main character. He suffers from, being a yes man, wanting everyone to like him and, folding under pressure. I wanted to protect Aiden by any means. Now, I will tell you that Maggie did do that. Maggie stood up for the man. However, there was a lot of other instances, and I know Maggie has some things going on, and a lot of her ways was because of her ex-husband. So I'm giving her a pass. And like I said, I'm going to tell you that she is tolerable, but everybody else in this story, I did not like. And I think that's the hard part. I read for enjoyment. Now, I don't have to like every character. I understand there's usually going to be a protagonist and an antagonist. I need everyone not to work my nerves though. And that's what I felt like this book did to me. Moving on. Now, I want to talk about some of my most surprising reads from January. Now, I don't say surprising in the fact that I thought I was going to hate it and I wound up loving it. What I'm saying surprising is it took me by storm. I had high hopes and I really enjoyed, I thought I was going to enjoy it. But when I read these books, they knocked my socks off. Starting with Sweet Vengeance by Vivano Onima. I apologize. I don't have the correct spelling or pronunciation, but I am going to tell you that it ate. This is monster romance that is dark with a vengeance. And baby, I loved every second of it. I actually read this while I was out of town, and I was in the sauna. I was in the spa. I was in a state of relaxation, and there were people around me, and I was like, is it hot in here? I know I'm in the steam room and I know it's hot, but I'm on another level of hot because the spice in this was spicing. And I was around others and I said, okay, well, I'm just going to be set aflame at this point. This was so good. And I've got 2 other books by this author on my Kindle that I've been trying to savor and take my time before getting into it. If you are looking for a woman that takes revenge into her own hands, and she happens to summon a demon to help her in her cause, and this demon pretty much worships her, actually, this is the book for you. The next surprising book that I have is one that I am so glad that I purchased because I am running through the entire series. There are 6 brothers in this series, and I'm living, loving, laughing, and having a ball with the Valentine brothers. So the first in the series is No Holds Bar. Let's take a moment and appreciate Hunter, who is my first book boyfriend of the year. This man has me down bad. This is a quick read. I wanted to start off January with, knocking out some novellas that were on my Kindle. And I didn't know love like this. Hunter Valentine is one that I'm fighting for because everybody loves Hunter. Not everybody can have Hunter, but I am ready to tussle with you ladies because this man, he gave her his Amex card. I wasn't prepared. He gave her his Amex card, put his phone number in it, and was like, hey, come see me when you want your card back. I'm going to take your card and you spend my money. Woo! Yes. The Valentine's brothers are a different level. Like, this is how you know it's written by a woman. Stephanie Nicole Norris made each and every one of them with undenying, irresistible, attraction. Like, I left this saying, damn, men don't exist like this. How do I get back to reality? I know I didn't tell you anything about the book. It is a quick book. This essentially is a man that owns and runs a conglomerate, and he falls in love with his neighbor. So it is not necessarily roommates, but it's a neighbor relationship, and they have a working relationship, and it's very quick. And then you're going to gobble up the rest of the series. So I don't want to give you all too much. Now, the last and final thing I'm going to talk about for the month of January is books that I DNFs. Unfortunately, the book that I DNF was Leslie's Curl and Dye by D.L. White. This book, I had high hopes for it. I did have it as one of your stuff your Kindle days for free type ordeals. And I think what I suffer from is the fact that this book was either written and published in 2017, which, if you think about it, some things just don't stand the test of time. And the way that we write male protagonists or main male characters in 2024 is not how we wrote them in 2017. And I think that's my biggest issue. I just talked about and ranted and raved over Hunter. And then to read the male character in here, I was like, yes, I know both of us are in the wrong. This is a second chance romance in which it's a small town. They're competing businesses, and the female main character did something that broke up the relationship between her and the guy. But he's not taking any accountability. Let me just say that. He is not accountable for what he did and what part he had to play in this breakup. And he is steamrolling her and making her take on all of the blame. And I said, baby, it takes 2 to tango. And I don't like how you're coming off in this particular instance. And it felt like the actual plot. And again, I love political intrigue, right? I talked about Scar Down. I loved it. But I don't want political intrigue to overshadow the romance. And I came into this reading it for romance. And again, it just didn't stand the test of time for me. So I DNF'd it real quick. That is going to wrap up my January. Again, there's a lot of books that I'm not talking about. I will be figuring out other videos to slot them in. But let's go ahead and move into February. Now, again, I told you February for me, all black everything, unless I've made a prior commitment to read an arc, which did happen. But my favorite, I have 4 favorites this month. This is where I was like, in January, I didn't have a single 5-star. That Tastes Like Shakkar and Scarred were 4.5s. Again, still high up there. But in February, banger, banger, banger. One being the queen herself. We all know Beverly Jenkins, specifically Indigo, never fails. I'm trying to figure out how this book is this great. And it has less than 5,000 reviews. Somebody tell me why y'all hate greatness. Like, why hate supreme reading? Indigo is that girl. When we talk about historical fiction, we should be talking about Beverly Jenkins. Like, if we had synonyms and we had pictures in books, I will tell you that greatness via historical fiction and the picture should be Beverly Jenkins, because this is a masterpiece. When I tell you I was getting my entire life, I tabbed it down, I ate down. It was a good time. This is also set in the 1800s. This is following Indigo, which is not her real name, but this is the name that the Black Daniel gave her, who is also not the main character. The main male character's name is Galen. Now, let me tell you, Galen has been injured. Now, both of these people are working on the Underground Railroad, so they're putting in the work to free enslaved men and women and children. And so in this situation, our female main character, whose name is Hester, my mind keeps saying Indigo, and that's not her real name. Let me honor her name. Hester is basically a border house for any enslaved people that may need reprieve before going on into their next destination. And so she's constantly taking people in her house. And one of these times they bring in Galen. Now, Galen is injured and he needs to be hidden because there is a bounty on his head. There are people that know he is a conductor in the Underground Railroad. Now, he is injured and he needs refuge. And so Hester's like, I cannot turn this man away. I need to be able to care for him. Now, she is tending to his wounds and he wakes up like, where am I at? What's going on? Now, him and her don't start off on the best of foot. I will tell you that the banter between them two is really what got me. Like, they have a push and pull relationship that I could eat, breathe, and sleep for days. And from there, they start to fall into this, yes, I dislike you, but I love you all the same. And what we come to find out is Galen has money. Now, you mean to tell me not only is this man wealthy, but he is also working and putting his privilege to the best of use possible by transporting enslaved men and women. Now, again, Galen is supreme. I love it because no matter what station or class Hester is in, and trust me, she is seen as below in all forms and sense of the word, but he holds her up to the highest standard in regard. He loves her. He's willing to give up everything for this woman, but he doesn't have to. And he's going to make everything happen. Don't get me wrong. Hester is not looking for a savior. The woman is a good shot and she knows I'm going to ride out for my man. I am going to do what I need to do for the community. I am going to put myself in danger to sacrifice for others. Even though I may not have it all, I'm going to give what I have. I love this book so much, and I cannot wait to see Beverly so she can sign it. The next 5-star I have to talk about, I don't have physically in my hands. I am getting it on Wednesday. I will have a physical copy in my hands, And I will be getting the author to sign it, and that is going to be Tia Williams, A Love Song for Ricki Wilde. This is actually my first 5-star of the month, and it couldn't have come to a better book than this one. I have actually did a ARC reading video for this, so if you want to get my full thoughts where I am literally crying in Sam's, go ahead and watch the video, and you won't be disappointed because this is historical fiction with magical realism. It is giving the 1920s vibe. It is giving Black culture. It is giving, and asks nothing in return. But Tia, when I see you on Wednesday, I hope you're giving out hugs. I hope that you feel the love that I have for this book and the love that I have for 7 Days in June wrapped up in my aura, because we also get to see Eva and Shane from 7 Days in June in this book. And when I tell you, I'm kicking my feet, I am giggling, I am swooning, because this one right here, when you talk about soulmates that are so intertwined that I am seeing you in my dreams, I am drawing your face, I am making music for you, and you have not even come into my life yet. That's what this book gives. It had so many historical facts and gems that I was researching. You could have called me a PhD student by the way that Tia had me on Wikipedia, on the Googles, reading articles. I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that I immerse myself in the 1920s. Tia Williams absolutely did that, and I loved every moment of it. Now, the next favorite that I have was another Stephanie Nicole Norris that's still in the Valentine Brothers. It is the third in the series, which is Give Me a Reason. Now, I told you I love Hunter Down. Now, I don't think that I'm going to find a Valentine brother that I love more than him, but I could be a liar. But right now, he is holding supreme. But when it comes to a relationship, when it comes to the love between two characters hitting and doing what it needs to be done, Alice and Lance are everything. When I tell you, this man said, I love you more than anything that I could have. Whatever future I saw for myself, I will gladly throw that out the window, because if it doesn't have you in it, I don't want it. The man went and said he had to realize that his parents, even, this is how you know when somebody is going to be your spouse. This is, I now place you over my mother and father, and I love them long. They've given me life and everything that I have to this point, but nobody is over you. And that is the true testament of love. But on top of that, Allison is a woman that was like, yeah, I love you, but I don't want to be your downfall. I know that I can't give you all that I need, so I'm going to put myself second because I'm putting you first and what I think you deserve. Let me tell you, Stephanie did her big one with this one. And I don't know what's going to come for the rest of the Valentine Brothers, but if she didn't give us nothing else, if this was what she had to give, she gave everything. I love this one. 5 stars. I will be continuing with this series. And then my last and final favorite was another arc that I read. Tracy Brown, who may she rest in peace. She gave us Brooklyn, and it ate. Brooklyn took me by storm. It is another historical fiction. Let me say this. I'm in my mid-30s. The fact that this book is set in the 90s and it's classified as historical fiction, I'm offended. But it's facts. Like these kids nowadays, they don't know what a pager is, and they couldn't handle what a pager is used for. Like the concept of somebody sending you a message and you're not able to reply to that message immediately because you don't have an actual phone readily available to you to get back in contact with them would blow their mind. And yet I lived it and I understand. So when I tell you that this book here It was my vibe. Brooklyn, now don't get me wrong. When she started off, now if you've never read a Tracy Brown book, please listen to me clearly. As soon as you start reading the book, by the prologue, you better have your seatbelt buckled. You better be ready for the adventure that you are taking on. This is a rocket ship, and there is no ramp up period. You're going from 0 to 100, and it doesn't stop. Tracy has her foot on the gas pedal the entire time, and she doesn't let off. We started this book off in the prologue with the main character's death. You heard me correctly. Tracy started this book off with us reading the main character losing her life. From there, we are transported back to when the main character was a young girl. And now this will be triggering because I want to tell you there are some heavy themes that are in here. There is religious bigotry. There is some concerns with phobic behavior. There is obviously murder. There's quite a bit of triggering content in here. There is drug abuse, use, and trafficking. There is so much that is happening in this book that I'm going to tell you to read with caution, read with care. But I could not look away. I was reading and I was working myself up and I was getting enraged. Brooklyn is not a likable character. And I know I talked about earlier in the book. So this is where things get contradictory. Hold on and follow me here. I know when I talked about role playing, I talked about how I like to like characters. I like the understanding of reading for characters that I enjoy. I do not enjoy Brooklyn. I understand Brooklyn. Brooklyn got her, she lived fast and died young. Let me tell you, it wasn't the fact that Brooklyn was supposed to be a likable character. Brooklyn is a relatable character. And again, you get to see why what happened. And I'm not here to say a life deserves to be taken. But I understand how we got here. And she knew that she was running out of time. She knew it was coming. Brooklyn is a damn good book. And again, may Tracy rest in peace and her legacy live on. I'm going to go into my least favorite book. And actually, let me take that back. It's not my least favorite. So we won't be doing least favorite this go around in February because I don't have anything that gave me 2-star or below. I'm going to go with my most disappointing book. Now, if y'all have watched some of my videos, you knew Kenya Bell and I, we understand each other. We vibe. She is my level of toxic. She is my level of crazy. She is my level of bonkers. She is my level of unhinged. When I talk about unhinged author, I'm specifically referencing Kenya Bell, and I love her for it. She wrote Toxic and released it. Now I'm on her ARC team and I'm going to read everything she puts out. Baby, I'm going to be there with hat in hand. I was having a great time. This book is disjointed for me and it needed an editor. We went on a little bit too long on for my liking. I think we're at like 500 and something pages. We could have taken this down. I'm not a person that says that. Normally, I am not the person that says there is too long of a book. But in this instance, it suffered from a couple of things. One, the villain in this story, if you hadn't read another book that this villain was in and you got to understand their rationale and their reasoning, you would have been confused. You would have been in this book and like, how did we get here? What was the motive? What was the reason? Tell me why you thought that I would know where we were going, because we didn't get that. Another thing that I struggle with, you know me, I'm a spicy reader. I live for the smut. Baby, the smut was too much. It wasn't that it's dark. It's dark. It wasn't that I did not enjoy it. It became repetitive. I wanted to get to the plot line. I wanted to get to the point where I'm like, okay, can we stop doing this and get to what the real issue is here at hand? Who's trying to kill this woman, who is trying to put some blame on her, who is trying to do all of the things. Let's stop blaming each other and get to the real meat of the matter. Also, the two main characters, this is a second chance romance. It is a marriage in trouble. It is a lot of things. I'm confused because I feel like Kenya willed these two back together. Like, they never got to the point of, there's some things that happened that was irrevocably broken between the two of them. Like, these two, Taylor, who is our female main character, she's like, I'm going to stick beside my man through thick and thin, heaven and hell, because baby, we went to hell and we were riding in hell for a minute. She said, I'm going to stick beside him, but I don't understand. Usually when this happens, we get some sort of, I'm not going to say an apology because there is mental health representation that kind of would show that we can't necessarily get that, but I still expect some sort of reconciliation to happen. I still expect some sort of grand gesture. I expect to see them repair and rebuild their relationship. And I just felt like Kenya was like, okay, well, they gonna do what they gonna do anyway, so let me just put them back together. It's not a happily ever after, it's just an ever after. And I didn't like that. So that is why it's my least favorite or most disappointing. It's not a bad book. It just didn't do what I wanted it to do. Now, lastly, we're going to wrap it up by talking about books that I DNF'd. Now, Meegan by Rebecca Weatherspoon. I think I got 70% of the way through, and this was an ARC copy as well. It is getting, because I made it 70% of the book, I'm giving it a 3. It's not a bad book by any means. I was bored. That's really the facts of the matter. I come to Rebecca expecting a certain level of entertainment. I expect to have, emotions towards a character, whether I absolutely love the character or I dislike the characters. I'm going to have an emotion. And this emotion was just bored. Someone labeled it as a cozy for 70%, and then the last 30% is bonkers. But by that time, I don't even want to sit through the bonkers behavior of the BDSM relationship. I don't even want to continue going on at this point, and I just decided to put it down. Again, not a bad book. I will let you know if I disliked it, because there is a book of hers that I absolutely disliked, but this one wasn't that. I probably should have ended this on a better note, but do me a favor. Tell me what your favorite book was. Again, nothing is going to be topping Beverly Jenkins from a historical point of view. If you're looking for a good, funny time, this one I would recommend. But tell me what you read in January or February that you all have loved, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.